And to me, reversal means when you go get your labs done, when you look at your overall metrics, you no longer meet the diagnostic criteria for that diagnosis. And I think this can apply to lots of things, not just diabetes. But yeah, through diet and lifestyle, you can actually go from full type 2 or even pre-diabetes and end up back in the ideal ranges. So it is possible with the right diet and lifestyle plan.
Welcome to Thriving with Diabetes, the podcast where we empower people with type 2 diabetes to live best lives. I am your host, Gamden, a holistic wellness coach. I have dedicated my passion to helping people overcome the struggles they face with diabetes. I believe that with the correct knowledge, support, and mindset, you can manage your health condition effectively and lead a fulfilling life. We have a great guest who has transitioned from investigating crime scenes to solving the complex puzzle of metabolic health. We are honored to welcome Andrea Nicholson, a functional nutritionist who brings a unique perspective to health and wellness. Andrea is dedicated to helping people overcome insulin resistance and pre-diabetes conditions, addressing issues such as low energy and inflammation. In this episode of Thriving with Diabetes podcast, we will talk about metabolic health and its connection to diabetes, gaining valuable insights into the role of nutrition in managing or preventing diabetes. It is always inspiring to learn about our guests' perspectives and experiences. Before we dive into our discussion, I would love for Andrea to introduce herself, share some background about her and what she does. So without further ado, I will hand it over to Andrea. Andrea, welcome to Thriving with Diabetes podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really looking forward to this conversation. And, it's always just a great thing to be able to share the knowledge that we've gained with people who need the information. So thank you so much for having me. So as you mentioned, I started my career in crime scene investigation. And while I was working in that career, I was on my own health journey. And that's what kind of led me into this path, was really my own health and the fact that I wasn't finding the right answers in traditional, conventional medicine. I was either being told everything was fine and there was nothing I needed to worry about, or I was being given advice that really just wasn't moving the needle. It wasn't helping me lose the weight, boost my energy, feel my best, reverse some of the things that they had already found. And that's what led me down the path to investigating my own health. I started using those investigative skills that I was using in my career to figure out what was going on with my own body and my own health and why this common advice wasn't working. And so that's what really took me down this path and ultimately made a career switch. And now this is what I do full time.
Brilliant. Very interesting. So your own struggles with health motivated you to help others. So you started investigating some of the health issues specifically related to diet or lifestyle. Often you talk about metabolic health and its connection to diabetes. For our viewers and listeners, could you explain what metabolic health means and its relationship to diabetes?
Yeah, metabolism is one of those words that a lot of us use kind of incorrectly or only in partial definition. So most of us think that metabolism relates to how many calories we're taking in, how many calories we're burning. But really, metabolism is all of the chemical reactions that are occurring throughout the body. So all of your cells that need to be rebuilt, all of your waste disposal, all of your enzyme function, all of your hormone functions. It's all of the chemical reactions that are occurring both in making new things and also in breaking down and getting rid of things. And so this relates directly to the fuel coming in and how much cellular energy we're making from that. That's really what metabolism or metabolic health is. If we have good metabolic health, then we can take the incoming nutrients and fuels and convert them into cellular energy that can be used to make enzymes, to make hormones, to do all of the things that we need our cells to do, to make new muscles and new tissues. And so when we look at metabolic health in general, we have to really consider all of the things. But ultimately, it comes back to that energy production and utilization process within the cell. And so how that relates to diabetes is this energy powerhouse system isn't really working well. Generally speaking, because you have really high blood sugars, you also have really high insulin. And insulin keeps the body in a building state, in a storing state. And it kind of prevents the other half of that equation in the breakdown, in the elimination of either excess fuels or being able to even access stored fuels for energy between meals. And so it really just kind of disrupts this whole energy system.
Brilliant. Very interesting information, and thank you for sharing that. So when we talk about metabolic health or metabolism, is not just about calorie in or calorie out. So it's more complex than what we think, and you summarize that is all chemical reactions that our body perform, and it's very interesting. And you mentioned our body utilizing energy, and that is essential for survival as well. Let's take a step forward and talk about nutrition. And as you know that nutrition plays a crucial role in managing or preventing diabetes. And my question is, can you share some insights into dietary recommendations and strategies you recommend to support people in achieving optimal metabolic health? Always I hear some of the health experts say diabetes is a metabolic health, and they mention other health condition, and everything is related to metabolism. So I will give you a chance to answer this question.
Yeah, so when it comes to nutrition strategies and recommendations around specifically type 2 diabetes, is really our main goal is to bring down our blood sugars, which will also bring down the insulin levels. And so when we look at the different foods that we consume, we have kind of these big buckets of macronutrients, which are the fats, the proteins, and the carbohydrates. And then within that, we have obviously different kinds of fats and different kinds of proteins and different kinds of carbohydrates. And the foods that drive blood sugars the most are the simplest carbohydrates. Those are going to be the ones that cause the biggest spike, that digest and absorb the fastest, and that just have the biggest impact on blood sugars. But within that carbohydrate range, we have really simple sugars like just straight table sugar or honey or any of these kinds of simple sugars that digest and absorb really quickly. And then we have, this whole spectrum that goes to really complex carbohydrates that digest slower, that require a lot more enzymes, that have fiber and have all these other nutrients that slow that absorption and also aren't always fully absorbed. A lot of the fibers we can't actually digest, our bacteria in our gut do, but we don't get any nutrients or calories out of some of those fibers. but they all fall in that bucket of carbohydrates. So the things that are going to drive blood sugar the most are going to be those simple carbohydrates. Anything that's refined, anything that's just a simple sugar, any juices, all of these kinds of things absorb really quickly. So those are going to be the biggest drivers of the high blood sugars. So those are going to be the ones that we want to reduce or eliminate from most of our diet, especially if we're progressed all the way to the type 2 diabetes diagnosis. And in place of that, we don't just want to take things out. We also still need to put food back in because we still need nutrients. And so we really do want to prioritize good quality proteins at an adequate level because that's essential for life. You have to consume protein to survive. It's needed for enzymes and hormones and bone and brain and muscles and all of your organs. So we do need adequate protein. And along with that protein, we also need healthy fats. The fat actually helps you absorb the protein better, and we need the fat to absorb fat-soluble vitamins and to carry some of these other nutrients that can't just float directly in the blood. And so we need healthy fats along with that. And then we can add in complex carbs based on your body's tolerance to them. So this is where testing can come in, continuous glucose monitors, home glucose meters, those kinds of things, to really be able to evaluate how certain carbohydrates are working in your body.
Very interesting information. The first thing you are emphasizing is is to reduce carbohydrates, and that can comes in a form of refined food like bread or processed sugar like table or what we usually consume as sugar in our diet. This is very important, is to be able to control blood sugar levels. So we need to be mindful about carbohydrates. And the second thing you mentioned is protein. We can get it from different sources. And the third thing, and some people sometimes afraid to take or to try when we talk about fat. And you are saying we need to focus or consume healthy fats, and that can comes in a form of olive oil. Sometimes, there are different forms, but it should be healthy fat, not processed. This is the main thing. Is that correct?
Yes, definitely. We want to avoid the fake fats, the ones that are made in the factory or that are highly processed and highly chemically altered. And we want to stick to the natural fats. So the natural fat that's found in whole foods like avocados and fatty fish and meats and eggs and dairy and these kinds of things are all great. And then olive oil, those kinds of things as well are fantastic.
Brilliant. Thank you for sharing that as well. The next thing is talking about functional investigation process. Your insulin resistance solved system is central to your functional investigation process. Could you break down the components of this system and explain how it helps in identifying and addressing root causes?
Yeah, generally we start off the investigation phase of really figuring out where you're at. You know, in order to get to wherever it is you want to go, you have to know where you're starting at. And so this often involves some lab testing to really see what your numbers are doing. What is your body doing? How are you responding to your current diet and lifestyle? This also involves some functional assessments like questionnaires and things that might remind you of things that you hadn't thought to even mention that might seem like it's not related, and it really is related. Also talks a little bit about your history, you know, how you got to the place you're at. And then we also have conversations. So, you know, how are you feeling? What is it that you want? What do you like? What are your preferences? What are your like boundaries? I'm not giving up this particular food, or I always have to have this particular thing, or I'm never going to eat that way. Like, we need to know what your personal preferences are as well. Then once we kind of know where you are and how you got here, then we can formulate a plan to get you where you want to go. So that's where the insulin resistance solved system kind of steps in, and we dial in the nutrition, we dial in the lifestyle, exercise, sleep, stress, toxins, all of the things that play into the current state that you're in and that are kind of preventing you from getting to where it is you want to go. So we dial all those in for you. And then once we've accomplished your goals, then we move more into, like a live it phase where you're just going to maintain these amazing results. Now you know exactly which foods do and don't work for you. You know exactly what kind of exercise is best for you, how to, manage your stress appropriately, how to really get better sleep. All of these things that really do have an impact on your overall metabolic health.
Brilliant. Very interesting information. Thank you for sharing that. Some people just jump in and try things without, as you mentioned, analyzing or knowing what their current state, either in terms of health or what they tried before. And you mentioned that you focus first, or the first step is where you were, then you move on to how, which is the next step. That is very interesting concept and strategy, and it can help people achieve good results when it comes to health. So we need to know what we tried, and maybe something worked, something didn't work, but you start from investigation, then having we can say an action plan, and that can be different actions a person can implement. Let's move to something very interesting, which is about reversing diabetes or insulin resistance. When we talk about reversing diabetes, many people disagree and don't accept the concept of reversing diabetes or insulin. Based on your experience, what are some key factors and strategies that have proven effective in helping people reverse type 2 diabetes and insulin resistance? And before you start, I was going to ask you, is it possible to reverse diabetes or not, as a yes or no question? But before give you a chance to talk about that, I met a man who had type 2 diabetes, and he managed to reverse diabetes through lifestyle changes and diet. Then when he talked to his doctor was surprised and asked him what he was doing, and he said he fixed his diet and lost weight. Another lady, I was in a Facebook group, she was very happy. After 1 year, she shared a post and said, I reversed diabetes. And I asked her, how did you do that? And she said, through nutrition and exercise. And I will hand it over to you.
Yeah, I think those are two great examples of answering the question, can it be reversed? Well, there's two examples of people who did reverse it. So I do think it's possible. I don't think it's a guarantee in every case. I do think it really depends a lot on how long you've been in this state, how much you're willing to do how your body responds. There's a lot of things that we can't, of course, guarantee because everybody responds differently. But every day, people are seeing improvements, if not fully reversing it through diet and lifestyle. And so I do think it's possible. And I think, like you, I've seen countless examples of people who have done it, who, when you look at their metrics, they no longer meet the criteria that got them the original diagnosis. They've brought all of their numbers back into the ideal range. So effectively, they don't have it anymore. Now, does that mean they're cured? No. And I think this is where some of the debate comes in. If they go back to eating the way they were 10 years ago, 15 years ago, that led them to the original diagnosis to begin with, it will come back. So it's not cured. None of us are actually ever free from the risk of diabetes. We can all get there if we go back to eating the poor diet, being sedentary, living in the lifestyle that caused it to begin with. And so I think that's where we just kind of have to be on the same page of what does that mean? And to me, reversal means when you go get your labs done, when you look at your overall metrics, you no longer meet the diagnostic criteria for that diagnosis. And I think this can apply to lots of things, not just diabetes. But yeah, through diet and lifestyle, you can actually go from full type 2 or even pre-diabetes and end up back in the ideal ranges. So it is possible with the right diet and lifestyle plan. But knowing that there are some people who've been in that state for so many decades that their body may not fully respond, and so they may not fully reverse it. But if you go from like serious type 2 diabetes down into a managed type 2 diabetes, you've still made huge progress. So even if in your personal case, it doesn't fully disappear and you do still need some medications or some other supports, you've still done tremendous benefits for your body. You've slowed the damage. You've reduced a lot of the symptoms and probably reduced a lot of the medications that are causing side effects and these kinds of things. So at a minimum, every condition can be improved, and a lot of them can fully be reversed with the right plan.
Brilliant. Very interesting information, and it is a helpful answer. You summarized everything and you put everything into perspective. You mentioned it is possible, but it depends on various situations or conditions. A person who is suffering from diabetes for 5 years won't be responsive like someone with 20 years of suffering from type 2 diabetes. This is the first thing. Second thing is the lifestyle they follow. Everyone will have different lifestyle. The stress they are exposed to. Someone moves more, and the other person moves less. So who is going to achieve good results? Another important point you mentioned is acknowledge or celebrate wins. If you had 5 medications and through good diabetes management and you reduced it to 3 or 2, that consider to be a good achievement. If you reduce your high blood sugar levels like 2 points, 10 points or something like that, also considered to be a healthy, good achievement. And you mentioned that if you were living with type 2 diabetes and you are a type 2, then you become pre-diabetic. That also a good achievement. So regardless of the achievement, we need to acknowledge anything that we achieve and celebrate that. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't ever want anyone to be discouraged that you're looking at your own life and you're like, oh, I've been type 2 diabetic for 20 years. It's hopeless. That's definitely not true. You just have to be realistic about it and know that you may not be able to fully reverse it to where you were as a teenager. That may not be possible. There's a lot of things that aren't possible as we get older, regardless of what the condition is. So it may not be 100% possible to get back into completely no diabetes signs, but everything you improve reduces your risks, reduces side effects, reduces inflammation, reduces medication needs. Like, all of these are amazing wins, and we absolutely need to celebrate all of them and be willing to fight for them, because you will feel better with improvement, even if it doesn't fully reverse.
Brilliant. Thank you for sharing that. I know you have given us a lot of information and tips. I was going to ask you if you have got some more tips to share, maybe something about a holistic approach to improving overall health and wellness.
Yeah, I think one of the most important factors to beginning any journey is really look at your personal life. Take a good hard look at all aspects of your life and make some decisions around things that you could start doing right away. Look at if you're looking at your life and you're like, I'm only sleeping 4 hours a night. Maybe that's where you want to start. Really prioritizing good quality sleep to the extent that you can. Maybe you have a really high stress life and you need to incorporate some stress management techniques. Maybe that's where you start. Maybe you're not exercising at all right now and you can implement some walks after you eat. Or you can do some other kind of physical activity. Maybe that's where you start. If you're looking at your diet and you know there's some foods that are not serving you, that are keeping you in the state that you're in, maybe that's where you start. So I think the first step is just kind of look at your overall life and pick something to get started with. Pick something that's going to move the needle or something that feels easy to get started with, and just kind of baby step your way in. If you want to move faster, then it might require finding a practitioner or someone that can really help you identify the things that are going to move the needle the most. So I think there's a lot of different ways that you can approach this stuff, but just get started somewhere.
Brilliant. Very interesting information. Thank you for sharing these tips as well. I have got another question before we finish this episode. What inspiring message or advice would you like to leave with our viewers and listeners, specifically those struggling with type 2 diabetes?
Yeah, I would just say that every condition can be improved upon. So if you have not yet found a plan that works for you, keep looking, keep digging, keep being your own best advocate. There are answers out there. Every condition can be at least improved upon. You just have to find the right plan for you. So keep fighting, keep looking for answers.
Brilliant. Thank you for sharing your inspiring message. So keep point, don't give up, keep trying. How can people find you if they want to get in touch with you or learn more about you and what you do?
Yeah, my website is probably the best way to connect with me and check out some of the other resources that I have. And that website is healthylifewithandrea.com.
Brilliant. Thank you for sharing your contact information. Do you have anything else you want to say before we wrap up this episode?
I think just always have hope. Always have hope that there's a chance for things. You just have to find the right plan. So don't give up. Don't get frustrated. Just keep looking, keep working at it, keep improving one every day, keep improving baby steps all along the way, and you'll get there. You will. You just have to find the right plan.
Brilliant. Thank you. We have come to the end of this episode. I would like to express my sincere gratitude to our amazing guest, Andrea Nicholson, for generously sharing her expertise, insights, and time with us. I want also to thank every one of you, our dedicated viewers and listeners, for being a part of this episode. If you need additional guidance and support, I encourage you to book a call with me at wellnessimpact.org. If you found this episode insightful and valuable, I invite you to join our community of people committed to thriving with diabetes. To stay up to date for upcoming episodes, empowering discussions, and practical tips, make sure to subscribe and follow us. Once again, thank you, Andrea, for being our guest today. Thank you, everyone, for joining us on this impactful journey. Until next time, take care of your health and keep thriving.